Welcome, Tanglers. I'm Annie, and I'm here to show you today a lunchtime tangle about colored backgrounds. As promised in my last YouTube tutorial, I checked to see if I had already done a tutorial on this one, and I hadn't. I had only done a tutorial on the Lindy's Magic Shaker dies. So this background here is on Distress Oxides, and as you can see here, they make these beautiful unexpected textures on the paper that are perfect for tangling and also for color layering after you do tangle them. Again, just like with the Lindy's dies, this is also a very permanent surface that you can erase and nothing will be picked up. See, look at this darkest spot. Nothing is moving. Nothing is coming up after these dry. I really love these, especially if I'm going to do a project that does require me to kind of erase my string or do a more serious Botangle. So these are Distress Oxides, and they are from Tim Holtz from Ranger. Here we go. And Tim Holtz also does a line called Distress Ink. And the difference is the Distress ink is a kind of translucent, almost transparent sort of a dye. And these are more opaque and they react to the water in a different way. And the reason is these Distress Oxides are actually a blend of pigments and dyes. So you can watch a plethora of YouTube tutorials on this. I'm just going to show you how I did this particular background that we worked on last week, and maybe a couple other little techniques with this. They're really, really fun to experiment with, and there's more than one way to do these. So let's get started. I cut myself out some paper, some hot press watercolor paper, and I did them in the size of the Zen-tangle tiles, 3.5 by 3.5, and then these are like the phi tiles, which are 3 by 5, and we're going to do a couple of those as well. I did a couple of the phi tiles here, as you can see, just with some different colors. They're very pretty. I wanted to mention to you that the Zen-tangle tiles are actually made of a printmaking paper that is very, very absorbent. So it's going to really suck up your paints and your oxides and your dyes. So I'm sticking to the more smooth surface of the watercolor paper. It doesn't absorb quite as much, and so you're kind of saving a little bit there. Let me just start with this one and show you. There's this first way I'm going to do is I'm going to start with my light blue. This one, I love the names they've all been given. This one is called Tumbled Glass. And I have these little daubers, I don't know what to call them, that have Velcro on them, and you get these little pads that you use to ink the paper with, and you just use a circular motion to apply the color. And you can keep adding more dye, or oxide actually. And you can also blend a darker color in with it. I'm going to start with the other blue. And the wonderful thing about the oxides is that they're much more forgiving in terms of blending out a hard line. As you can see, if you just keep blending, there is no hard line there. It's really a beautiful way to add color to your backgrounds. These are on pads, and I do know that you can buy re-inkers. That is, you can squirt more of this particular pigment dye blend into the pad right here. So I don't have those yet. These are still pretty new. And now comes the magic. Because this is a pigment and it somehow is made to oxidize when water activates it. I'm going to take my spray bottle. This is just a regular spray bottle. I've watched some people actually spray the water in their hands and then just spritz it onto the paper, but I'm going to go ahead and just spritz and watch what happens. It's going to take a little while to dry, but you see that texture, that mottled look happening. And then you can, the more water you add, the more you can do with it. You can let it bleed and blend. You can also take a, well, I'll show you. You can take a brush and move it around. You can take a paper towel and lift, but do you see how it's already lifting and oxidizing here with the water? That's just the water that I sprayed on it. You can lift up to create other more interesting textures. And you can also add these dyes directly on the craft mat. I'm working on a craft mat here, also from Ranger. And if you do that and you spritz that, you can actually just drag your paper through and you get something like this. And I actually like this very subtle background. I'm going to let it dry and then I might do some more pigment on top. These craft mats are great. You just wipe them clean and you can start all over again. Here I have dried marigold. I'm just going to blend a little bit more of that on top of what's here. It's a bit more of a yellow color. And then I'm going to use Shabby Shutters. It's a green, almost looking like a spring green or an olive kind of green that goes with the marigold really well. Brightens this up a little bit. And then I'm going to get the bundled sage, this one. So, see how that just really starts to react with the water. Isn't that beautiful? And then you remain patient. You can wipe these edges or blot them up and just let it dry. You can also take these and just blot them down like we did before and use them as watercolor. That is, here we got some tone and tone going. I'm just going to take my plain paper. I'm going to back up a little bit. Take my plain paper, glass of water, and just do a wash. It's good to just spritz your paper first. And then I'm just going to pick up this color. Just doing a wet and wet technique. If it's nice and wet, you can also pick that up and let it run. That'll be very pretty. And you can then just control it a little bit by spreading it around with a paintbrush if you want. And I think that one's ready. Pretty for me. I'm going to do another of the red tones because I'm working on a butterfly. But this time I'm going to blend. I really like this blending technique. So you really can't have enough of these little daubers and these little sponge bottoms. I just had to go wash mine. I'm going to be ordering quite a few more because you really want to get into the flow of things and not have to stop like that. And I'm going to go with some scattered straw. That's this color. It's a little bit lighter. Try to blend these two more with a smoother transition. That first reddish color was called Festive Berries. Isn't that beautiful? I just love these names. They're as pretty as the colors. Okay, let's see what happens when we spritz this one. See how this area is changing? Beautiful. Very subtle in this case. If your water droplets are large, then you're going to have the larger oxidized areas that look kind of more milky, like this. So this was a larger drop, right? So you can play around with that. I'm going to do another red and orange tones. So I'm going to start with Festive Berries. And then I'm going to add some fossilized amber. And then some scattered straw. Just keep adding until you get the approximate blend that you want. That's kind of pretty. Pull this corner out. And then I'm going to hit it up. This time I'm going to just spritz in my hand and drop it on there. Isn't that pretty? And then you can also just band some colors, make it almost like a rainbow, but you just have to be very, very careful not to blend and make mud. So let me show you what I mean. I'm just going to start blending some red. And then I'm going to add, closest thing that I have to orange is this fossilized amber. And when it mixes with the red, as you can see, we get a transition of orange right there. Isn't that beautiful? Okay, so that's the amber. Then we could go to yellowish one. I actually do have a yellow. This one is called Squeezed Lemonade. How wonderful is that? So I'm starting a brand new sponge with Squeezed Lemonade. Brilliant. Whoa, I'm getting very dirty, messy here. And let's see, what could we do next? We could do, it would be a green coming next. And how about a blue? We can go back to our chipped sapphire. And now I'm going to add a little bit of tumbled glass just to brighten up that blue down there. Okay, so there we have a kind of nice mix of rainbow stuff going on. And I'm just going to spritz it. I'm kind of not liking this hard line here, so I'm just going to blend it out a little bit. And just before your eyes, you can see this wonderful kind of oxidation happening. Look at that. Not fun. And then when that's dry, if that's not enough for you, like I showed you before, you can just layer it up. Okay, here we have one that has almost dried, so I'm going to add a little bit more of the blue on here. Here I have an example of a project that I did with this same background technique. As you can see, I just blended and spritzed. And then when I did my tangling over it, I picked up those colors to do my shading, just like I did in the tutorial from last week. So this is a really fun surface to work on, very forgiving, and it layers up quite well. Thanks for joining me today. I hope you enjoyed this demonstration of another fun way to do colored backgrounds with Zentangling. And I'd love to see some of your creations on my Annie's Botangle alumni Facebook page. Have a great day. That's it for today's Tangle. Thanks for joining me. If you like these lunchtime tutorials, please give them a thumbs up and subscribe to my YouTube channel. I also invite you to check out my website for classes that I have scheduled or to purchase my Tangle tags for your favorite step outs. That's botangle.net. I'm leaving you with some other links too. Zentangle.com, where you can learn more about the Zentangle method from its founders, Rick Roberts and Maria Thomas. You can also visit their store there for a multitude of Zentangle paper tiles, tools, books, and kits. Tanglepatterns.com is that site I talk about where you can explore hundreds of tangle patterns, read about them, and get the step out, which is basically the deconstruction of the pattern. And finally, if you'd like to share your beautiful results with me and my student community, please join Annie's Botangle alumni Facebook page. We're a private group where we inspire each other with our work and offer tips and useful information about art and Zentangle.